What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is a series where I go into great detail with all of the stats, as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Black Ops 6. And in today's episode, we're getting back into the SMG category, and we're going to be covering the Tanto 22. And starting it off as always, let's get into our damage profile, and with this gun, it's going to be a 3-shot kill in the first 2 damage ranges, and then it'll drop off to a 4-shot, and then a 5-shot kill. And when it comes to headshots, within the first 2 damage ranges, headshots are useless. However, in the last 2 damage ranges, if you can mix 3 headshots in with body shots, you can reduce the number of shots to kill, but that's generally not very practical, especially at range. However, if we use the CHF barrel, now, up close and personal, we can actually get a 2-shot kill with this gun if both of those shots hit the head, and then in the last 2 damage ranges, instead of requiring 3 headshots, we only need 2. As for rate of fire, this is by far the slowest in the SMG category at 441 rounds per minute, and what this means is our 3-shot time to kill potential is 272 milliseconds, which is a little bit on the slower side up close for SMGs, but it's really not that bad. I find you'll still be reasonably competitive with this time to kill, as long as you're hitting your shots. However, the big thing to point out is with that slow rate of fire, a single missed shot is going to be far more punishing with this gun compared to many of the other SMGs out there, as it immediately jumps up to a 408 millisecond time to kill if you need that 4th shot, and that's a very slow time to kill. As for the situation with the CHF barrel, if you can get a 2-shot kill where both of those shots up close are hitting in the head, we're killing in just 136 milliseconds, which is insanely fast, but it's not like the situation is going to be happening all that often, even when using this barrel. And then finally, one of the best attachments, in my opinion, on the Tanto 22 is the rapid fire attachment, which will bump our rate of fire up to 496 rounds per minute. And what this means is we get a very nice benefit to our 3-shot time to kill potential. Now we're killing in just 242 milliseconds, which is a very solid time to kill in this game. After that, let's have a look at our damage ranges, and like I said, we get a 3-shot kill in the first 2 damage ranges, which means it is a 3-shot to the body out to just over 20 meters, which is actually quite impressive for an SMG. And that's one of the reasons that it's okay that this kills a little bit slower than the other SMGs up close, because that range extends beyond what most SMGs can handle. Also, we do have the fastest bullet velocity by default in the SMG category at 560 meters per second, which means our hit scan range is going to be 28 meters with this. Now, if you want to increase that, the gain twist barrel will boost that by 45%, or we could use the long barrel, which boosts our damage ranges by 30%, and that will then bump our 3-shot range up to about 27 meters, which is very impressive. Or we could use the reinforced barrel, which gives a little bit of a boost to range as well as bullet velocity. And then finally here, I do want to talk about rapid fire, since it is very powerful on this gun, but there are some downsides attached to that. And these are, we get a 10% reduction to both our range and velocity values, as well as an increase to our recoil, which we'll look at in just a little bit. But next up, let's dive into hardcore game modes. And in hardcore, the Tanto 22 will be a 1-shot kill at all ranges, anywhere in the body, as long as you're not shooting through something. Then getting into Hipfire, we actually have really solid Hipfire with this gun. It's the 2nd best in the SMG category at just 3 degrees for our minimum spread, so not bad at all there. And now let's finally get into recoil, and with this we can see there is a lot of vertical recoil with this gun, but with that slow fire rate, it does climb fairly slowly. And since I am going way off my target here, I'm just going to show you guys the first 20 rounds fired for all of these recoil plots. And with the base recoil, you can see the initial shots fired kick upward with a very slight lean to the left. And then after about the 7th shot fired, this is where it starts cutting toward the right. So not an overly complex recoil pattern. It's mainly just that high magnitude of vertical recoil to worry about. But like I said, it climbs very slowly, so it's generally pretty easy to get that under control manually. But then I did want to show with the CHF barrel, we see a lot of recoil there. Definitely some big gaps between those shots. And then with rapid fire, it's a similar story, although in this case, I noticed we see more horizontal recoil added here compared to the CHF barrel. So definitely something to consider if you plan on going that route. You'll likely want to use some attachments to help counteract that. Next up, let's get into our handling stats, and our aim down sight time is great with this at 200 milliseconds, and our sprint to fire time is also better than average for SMGs at just 120 milliseconds, so excellent in those areas. However, with our slide to fire and dive to fire times, these are all the same for all of the SMGs at 320 milliseconds and 400 milliseconds respectively. As for our reload add time, this is actually pretty decent for an SMG at 1.52 seconds. However, if we want to improve that, the flip mag is actually really solid on this gun. It maintains the same magazine capacity, and we reload in 1.23 seconds, and interestingly, with this attachment, typically you alternate between 2 different reload times, but not in the case of this gun. We reload consistently at 1.23 seconds for every reload with the flip mag. Now, of course, we could also use the fast mag 2, which will reduce our magazine capacity but give us a very fast reload speed, or we have 2 different extended mag options that will slow down our reload time. And this finally leaves us with our mobility stats, and our base movement speed is a bit better than average for SMGs, Whereas all of our other movement speed stats are basically just bang on average, no surprises here. We have an excellent aim walking speed, just like most of the SMGs in this game, and we're really going to take advantage of that with some of our class setups. And speaking of that, let's finally dive into some excellent attachment combinations I threw together for you guys. And the first one I wanted to share is my balanced stealth build. And with this one, of course, we're using the suppressor, the Ranger foregrip for a bit of horizontal recoil control, but also for faster sprint and tactical sprint speeds. The ergonomic grip, which gives us a really fast aim down sight time at 165 milliseconds, while also improving slide to fire and dive to fire times. We have the infiltrator stock on there, which gives us an incredible aim walking speed at 4.3 meters per second. So you can strafe in gunfights very, very quickly with this. And then finally, we're topping it off with the recoil springs just to help get that recoil a bit more under control. And overall, this is a nice solid way to use the Tanto 22. It is worth noting this is the only setup I'm sharing today that doesn't have rapid fire. Generally speaking, I recommend rapid fire, but with a suppressor, I find that rapid fire recoil can kind of get out of control since we're not counteracting that with one of the recoil improving muzzles like the compensator. So that's why with this particular build, I'm going without rapid fire, and you still get a decent time to kill stretching out to medium ranges for SMGs here. As for the next one, this time we're using the Gunfighter wildcard, and with this one we are using rapid fire, which I definitely love using on this gun. So that gives us a very solid time to kill potential. We're using the compensator in our muzzle slot to help counteract that recoil. We've got the long barrel to help counteract the range loss that we get from rapid fire, and this more than makes up for it. We actually see a net improvement to our range at 17%. We have the vertical foregrip to help with the horizontal recoil that rapid fire adds. Extended mag 1 because we're going to be burning through mags a little faster with that higher fire rate. Then we're combining the CQB grip with the Strelic laser, so we get a really fast sprint out, slide to fire, and dive to fire time with that CQB grip. And then with the Strelic laser, this gives us near instant accuracy when we initiate aiming down sight, which is an excellent combination. You guys know I like running. And then finally, we once again have that infiltrator stock so we can strafe insanely fast in gunfights. And overall, this gives us a reasonably accurate setup. It's not quite as accurate as a base gun, but it's getting pretty close to it. And I generally find it's quite manageable. And just overall, this gun is going to be killing very quickly. It has a very solid range with that time to kill potential as well. There actually aren't too many guns in this game that will compete with this gun between about like 15 to 27 meters. That's where this particular setup really shines. And overall, if you're hitting your shots, this is an incredibly powerful setup. And this just leaves us with one last setup I wanted to share for you guys, and this is my aggressive setup. With this one, we're once again using rapid fire to get that great time to kill potential, but this time we don't have Gunfighter, so we are a bit more limited in our attachment selection. However, I do still have the compensator on this. If you feel like you can control the recoil, you could also put a suppressor on this. Sometimes I'll do that. Yes, there's a lot of recoil to take care of, but if you're good enough with recoil control, you may be able to manage that. We also have that Ranger foregrip again to help with our sprint speeds, as well as our horizontal recoil control to a degree. And then we're topping that off with the ergonomic grip and the infiltrator stock, which just makes for a really nice setup that's reasonably versatile if you're using the compensator version of this. Not quite so versatile if you're using the suppressed version. That will limit your ability at longer ranges. But overall, if you're not using Gunfighter, this is a great way to use the Tanto 22. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the Tanto 22. As for my thoughts on this gun, I personally really enjoy it, but at the same time, I can acknowledge it's a really high risk, high reward sort of weapon. It's not very forgiving. If you're missing shots with it, it's pretty terrible. But if you're hitting your shots on a consistent basis and also controlling your ranges to try to keep people generally at mid ranges, that's where this gun really shines. Or just use rapid fire and it also dominates right up close and personal. But of course, these are just my thoughts on this gun, and I'd love to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you feeling about the Tanto 22 in Black Ops 6 in its current state? Now, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description down below. And if you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.